Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely day, irrespective of the weather. So if you're in a place where it's nice and sunny, lovely for you. If you're in a place like here where it's raining and pouring, count your blessings. Right, I just thought I'd catch up. I did say we'd put another video up today, as I haven't done my usual 3 this week. Let me put my string away. Just to see what some of the effects of the heavy gales and the rain has been. And in my garden, actually, it hasn't been too bad at all. But it has definitely brought obvious signs that autumn is nearing its end. Because all the leaves from the beans, I mean, that's one that's been taken a battering from there. And look at that overflowing on that water butt. So I'm going to have to empty that very sharpish as soon as I'm finished with this. Otherwise, the ground over there will get absolutely waterlogged and my posts will rot. I mean, they are set in concrete, but that doesn't mean a thing when it comes to water, because water is one of the most corrosive elements that you could find as it's moving, that is. So yeah, that's both those water butts completely full, that one and the Slim Jim, completely full and overflowing. Look at it! What we could have done with that in the summer. Oh my goodness. My gladioli looking worse for the wear after all the rain. I'm going to have to take those dead flowers off, it'll rot. But look at the flowers, they're still so beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Still colour in the garden even in the autumn. They're still flowering. The nasturtiums are still flowering and those have hung on. They've really been good survivors. Really lovely. The tomatoes are still ripening on the vine. Those that I've moved under cover, I do have to keep an eye on the watering because they're not getting the direct rain. The kiwi plant, the Arctic kiwi, the leaves are falling now. They're starting to get all yellow and doing their autumn thing. But under the cover, look at that. Still green. Those baskets look really bad and worse for the wear in the week because they seem to have dried really badly with the wind and the warm weather we had. And I thought they were goners, but I watered them a little bit at a time, a couple of times, and it sprang back, except obviously for the marigolds. And yet, over here, where I just sprinkled some of the marigold heads, look what's happened over there. The marigolds have sprouted, so I put some of the sprouts in the trays. We'll have some late flowering marigolds. Tomatoes, look at that, lovely, still ripening some of them. We're still getting tomatoes. The carrots, since I've earthed them up, are doing much better. You can still see over there, so I just move this all around there. This is a dandelion, but it's so beautifully soft and tender and still very pale, so it's almost blanched under here by the carrots, so I'll use that for salads. This gladioli is gone over the flowers, but I'm going to leave it on there because I want that to take its energy back down to the root, to the bulb, to make sure it comes back strong next year. The asters are still pretty. I'll deadhead them. The nasturtiums have suddenly burst into flower. There seems to have got a second wind at this time of the year and they're just putting out more flowers. So I'm going to harvest some of those flowers to dry. Even the grapes, they've started to look really, really bad. Properly autumnal, and the leaves were yellowing in that, and suddenly there's fresh new leaves. So I'll grab the fresh new leaves before they turn so I can dry them. The salvia, the catnip, oh look, there's seeds in there. Can you see the little black dots from there? There's seeds in there, so I'll keep that. There's new growth underneath, so I'll cut it right back. The Kaluna, some of the flowers have gone over, but I want some of these fresh tips. I'm going to harvest some of them to use for a balm. So I'm going to harvest the fresh tips, give it a haircut, and hopefully we'll get some new. Look, there's some new ones growing there. So they're all right. This one is not doing all right. I'm going to have to put it back up here. It doesn't like where it was, so I'm going to move that. Give me a moment while I remember. There, I'll put it under there, see if I can recover that. It did not like, oops, snail. Okay. It's generally nice and sheltered. This little area by the windows, you could, oh, I beg your pardon, sneezing. Been out in the rains without proper clothes. That area there is still alright to put the clothes horse flat against the wall, but when we had the gales over the last few days, it blew the rain straight underneath and against the wall, so it wasn't an ideal place to dry washing right then. I had to strengthen, before the winds really came, I had to strengthen this trellising because the weight of that Jerusalem artichoke way up there was so heavy, it was pulling the trellising right over. So what I did was I put some more bracing against it so it couldn't blow this way. I don't know, let me see. I don't want to get water all over the microphone and the camera. I wonder, shall I go? No, I'll wait till another day. Chicken, that's what I am. But anyway, look at this part of the grapevine has come right the way across to the end from that way, all the way. That's a lot of rain. Some of the pots over there were blown over in the wind. I was expecting that because they get blown over in a small wind. But and that's practically all the damage there was, really. It's not been too bad. Yeah, it's not been too bad at all. And I'm glad I took the corner. Although you could see with the callaloo, a lot of the stems have snapped over. So I'm going to harvest those flowers. Hopefully on Monday we're supposed to have a bit of dry weather. So Monday I will snap off those flowers that have fallen over. And I'll collect all the ones I wanted for seed. Dry them out and collect the seed. Oh, it's too much rain. So as you can see, all tidied up. The slugs haven't been too mean on the brassicas that I've just put out. Oh, undercover quick, I'm going to ruin my camera and my phone. The sweet potatoes have really picked up since I've brought them under the cover. They really like, and so have the Cape gooseberries. They like the extra shelter. I've even had a couple of them ready there. So I've put them under there, finished ripening. And there they are. Oh look, still some beautiful new little flowers. Oh, they're such pretty little flowers. Look almost exactly the same as aubergine flowers, but much tinier. So they must be of the same family. And apparently, there's still some more fruit under there. Apparently, they're perennial if in the right climate and treated right. If you keep them properly over winter, because most people here treat both Cape gooseberries and aubergines as annuals, but if they're overwintered properly, apparently they are perennial. So I'll have a go at that. And these must have been from last year's stuff or the year before, because I didn't sow any. They just came up. That was one of the surprises I had earlier in the year. So I think and that was just left out in the garden over the winter, and we had that terrible snow earlier in the year, and look at them, they're still growing. So hopefully here under the cover, as long as I don't let them completely dry out and I don't waterlog them, hopefully they'll survive the winter, because I've got other pots underneath at the back there, so that should give us a bit more shelter in here, I'm hoping. We'll see. There you go. So not too much damage at all. I mean, over there I can see the one charred plant right at the back over there. That's been blown over. But you see where I just stuck those hazel poles in the ground? They were not even in very deep. And they're still standing. They haven't blown over. I've not tied them in or strengthened them or nothing. I just stuck them in the ground to keep them out of the way. And they've survived the gales. So it couldn't have been too bad in this garden. We haven't got much damage. The guttering is not overflowing over there on the shed. Let me see it from here. That's not usually, that overflows, but I can see the water splashing, so I'm going to have to, oh yeah, I can see it. I don't know if you can. The water is splashing on the top like it's pooled in the guttering, so I'll have to check on that very quickly. Yeah, I'll have to check on that. But yes, as soon as I'm finished with making this video, I'm going to go and empty out those water. But even this one, look at this. It's flowing over the side from the overflow hole. Full. Look at that. And that was emptied yesterday. So that's how much water we've had just off the size of this cover that we're under here, under the pergola. That is how much rain we've had just over the last, since yesterday actually, because I almost emptied completely that water butt. There you go. And things are surviving. So that's the garden update anyway. I thought I might as well let me move this a bit further forward. I don't want to sit under the rain blowing in. Let's see what else. Thinking about winter preparations today and getting ready for it. I went into the local to get some of the toiletries that I don't yet make for myself, things like that, and some of the winter stuff as well, because I don't yet have a herb garden well enough stocked, and I don't have enough I don't have any of the extracts going yet. That's still something, a work in progress I'm going to be working on. So for now, for this year, I went and stocked up on some of the Albus or Vicks nasal inhaler things for unblocking blocked noses if anybody catches a cold, and some lozenges for relieving sore throats, some multivitamins just in case, just to give us a boost through the winter if anybody starts showing signs of a cold. But generally there isn't much else that we need to prepare for, because if we're looking after ourselves and eating plenty of vegetables and fruits and getting all enough light and air, then we're trying to stay healthy and giving our immune systems a boost so that we could be ready for the winter and not have so many colds. We haven't, I think it's been a couple of years since we've really been thrown off by colds. We had one last year, my husband and myself, and it was a nasty one, but it didn't last very long at all. We recovered very quickly from that, whereas in the past we have had flu-like colds that have lasted for more than 3 weeks and felt the effects of it for the after effects of it for up to 2 months after. That was a particularly nasty year, one of them, and that happened twice to us. But since then, as we've introduced more whole food plant-based items into the diet and cut down almost completely on animal products, we seem to be a little bit more resilient to these sorts of bugs. So I'm hoping that continues. Other winter preparations, like I said, it's the little bits that we see as we go, like that guttering over there. I'm looking at it now and it's bugging me. Need to go and empty that somehow. Little things like that. So I'd like to ask you all, as you are going through your daily chores and looking around, or just if you're out in either your garden or on your porch if you don't have a garden, or balcony even, or in your home, just see what there is that you might need to work on. I have found a curtain pole and a curtain to put up by the front door to help with that. I mean, they're supposed to be draft excluders on the door already. It's supposed to be well insulated, but experience in this house of 3 years already tells me no, it's not that insulated and it still gets quite cold. So I'm going to put a curtain over the front door. So silly things like that. Getting, like I said before, the boots and coats. What else? Hot water bottles. My grandson pulled a hot water bottle out the cupboard the other day and I thought, so find those and use them ready. Get them situated where I can get to them quickly and fill them up and warm up the beds before we get in midwinter. I think I'll try to only use the heating once a day for about an hour or so, just to get the dampness out of the house. so that when we, because if you don't use your central heating through the winter, especially in this climate, the house gets very damp inside and you start getting molds and mildews, and the house feels damp. All the bedding and the soft furnishings and even clothes start to feel damp. So you need to air the house. Every day you need to exchange the air in the house, because that stale air during the winter can actually encourage bugs and more possibilities of colds and little flu type things. So it's good every day, even in the winter, to open the windows of the house and just give a good blast of air quickly for about half an hour to an hour, shut the windows again, and then heat the house again just for about an hour or so till it's back to normal, so that you're keeping fresh air in, you're exchanging the air so that you keep bugs to a minimum, and the damp as well. But I will try to make sure that we only use the heating for about an hour a day. And also I have tried now to do dishes only once a day, because our central heating, the gas boiler, heats our water and the heating, and that heats the water right the way through the year, not just the heating in the winter. And the prices have just skyrocketed just before winter. How convenient is that for the blinking suppliers? So I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum. If I really need to do more dishes, and I'll try to stick to one pot meals, of soups and stews and roasts and things like that, so that we have less dishes to wash. So I can then at least just do dishes once a day. And if I really have to, I'll boil the kettle, because the electricity seems to be slightly cheaper than the gas at the minute. But we'll stick to things like that. And we already only have about one hot drink a day, some barley cup. In the winter we tend to have a hot chocolate maybe once or twice a week, just because there's so much sugar in there. We keep it for a special treat. So we already do things like that. Try to minimize what we use so that we don't spend as much money, and try to preempt what we could do to reduce our need for things like the heating. It's those little things that are going through my mind at the minute, actually. And I'm thinking we're probably going to have to continue on that vein even into the next year, whatever the weather, because I think for our family, and especially for a lot of other families, we're going to be struggling quite a bit with all sorts of things happening here. So just think about the situations you're in, wherever you're living. What is the forecast, whether it's for the weather or finances on markets, or the country's finances and what's going on there, and your own finances, and just try to put some buffering in place. There's not a lot of time to do that really, even for the following year, but there's enough time just to put some buffering in to minimize the damage, and sometimes little things that can avoid them completely. I still feel it's extremely important at the moment for us all, whoever we are, whatever our financial situation, good or bad, to get out of debt if you have any ASAP, because that will make not just your finances a bit healthier, but your mental health too. And during the days of winter, if you're in a country where, in the northern hemisphere, where you're going to be getting into winter now, your mental health may suffer with a bit less of the light that we have, the sunshine and the daylight. So just, if people already have problems, then the winter time gets even harder. So just to give yourself a bit of peace of mind and feel better about, whatever the weather throws at us and the season, again, whether that's to do with the climate or whatever, then just doing these few little things gives us that peace of mind and staves off a bit of the heaviness of the season. So whatever you're doing with your preparations for garden, home, or whatever, get stuck in. buy yourself some peace of mind for the winter. I'll speak to you again soon. Need to get back inside. Have a lovely day, everybody. Bye.